Every choice you make feels like it belongs to you. What to buy, who to trust, even who to love. But here's the truth. Many of those choices are not yours at all. They are shaped by invisible biases that tilt your mind every second, and they do it without asking for permission. Psychologists have found dozens of these hidden forces. They make you pay more, stay longer, and believe stronger, even when logic says you shouldn't. Imagine working years on a career, pouring money into a bad investment, or staying in a broken relationship, and only later realizing your brain's shortcuts were pulling the strings the whole time. So the real question is, which biases are controlling you? And how can you cut those strings before they cost you everything? From anchors that fix prices in your head to sunk costs that trap you in failure. From halo effects that blind you to flaws to illusions that rewrite your memory. Your brain runs a secret script that rewrites your life story. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover some powerful biases that secretly guide your choices. And at the end, you'll see the antidotes that let you finally take the wheel back. Every brain uses shortcuts to save time. These shortcuts are called cognitive biases. They help us make quick choices, but they often bend the truth. You feel like you are in full control, but many of your decisions are already shaped before you even notice. Psychologists have studied these tricks for decades. They have identified more than 180 different biases that can tilt the mind. But here is the key. Only a small group of them cause most of our big mistakes. That means your daily life is being guided not by clear logic, but by a handful of mental traps. These traps don't feel like pressure. They feel like your own thoughts. That is what makes them so dangerous. You don't fight them because you don't even know they're there. Think about shopping. You walk into a store and without thinking, you grab the item at eye level. It feels like your choice, but really it was placed there on purpose. The same happens with prices, relationships, even memories. We act like free agents, but invisible puppeteers are tugging on our strings. And the scariest part? You usually thank them for it, because the choice feels fast, easy, and comfortable. But comfortable doesn't mean correct. So the real question is, out of all these hidden forces, which one strikes first? Is it the anchoring bias, where the first number locks your decision, or is it the availability bias, where the easiest memory wins over the truth? Your mind loves to grab the first clue it sees. This is called the anchoring bias. The first number, word, or idea you hear can lock your judgment in place. It doesn't matter if that first clue is random. Psychologists tested this by showing people the number $1,000 before asking what they thought a jacket should cost. The guesses went higher, just because the brain clung to that first number. This is how stores trick you with original price tags or fake discounts. Once the anchor is set, your brain adjusts around it, even if it's wrong. But numbers aren't the only trap. Stories can twist your judgment too. This is called the availability bias. Your brain believes what is easiest to recall, not what is most accurate. That's why many people think shark attacks are common, because they saw one on the news. In truth, falling coconuts kill more people than sharks every year. But you never see coconuts in headlines. What's vivid isn't always true. Anchors and availability traps are two of the most powerful forces in daily life. They push you to overspend, misjudge risks, or panic about the wrong dangers. And the worst part? They feel natural. They feel like your own thoughts. But once you know these traps, you can pause and ask, am I deciding or am I being nudged? Still, not every bias is about numbers or stories. Sometimes, the bias hides in how we protect our own ego. So what happens when we twist facts just to defend ourselves? Your brain loves to feel right, even if it means ignoring the truth. This is called the confirmation bias. It makes you search for facts that support your beliefs and filter out anything that challenges them. You read news that agrees with you. You listen to people who share your views. It feels comfortable, but comfort often beats truth. Psychologists have shown how this plays out in daily decisions. Give two groups the same medical information. Tell one group the treatment has a 90% survival rate. Tell the other group it has a 10% death rate. Both are mathematically the same. Yet the first group feels hopeful, while the second feels fearful. This is the framing effect. The way information is packaged can flip choices even when the facts don't change. Companies, politicians, and advertisers use this bias every day. They don't rewrite the facts, they reframe them, and your brain follows the frame. This is why people double down on weak investments, bad relationships, or wrong beliefs. The truth feels painful, the frame feels safe. So we defend the frame, not the facts. But this defense comes at a cost. It locks us deeper into mistakes because our mind would rather feel consistent than feel correct. And this raises the next question. If framing makes us cling to comfort, why do we hold on even harder when we're already losing? Humans fear loss more than they value gain. This is called loss aversion, and it runs deep in the brain. Losing $100 feels worse than the joy of winning $100. That fear pushes us into bad decisions. One of the strongest traps is the sunk cost fallacy. It makes people stay in a choice just because they have already paid too much, money, time, or effort. Psychologists show this in studies where people keep pouring resources into failing projects rather than walk away. It feels safer to finish what you started than to admit a failure. But the truth is, the past is gone. Spending more cannot bring it back. Still, the sunk cost trap chains the future to mistakes already made. Think of someone holding on to a dead investment. They watch it drop month after month, but refuse to sell because they've already lost so much. Or think of a person staying in a broken relationship because they have already given years. The past becomes the prison. This bias is not about logic, it's about emotion. Walking away feels like throwing everything away, even though staying makes it worse. The more we invest, the harder it feels to let go, even when letting go is the only smart move. And it leads to the next trap. What about the choices we never even notice? What about the options we ignore, simply because our brain filters them out? Your brain loves the easy now more than the better later. This is called the present bias. It makes people choose short-term comfort over long-term success. That's why many pick a free trial today instead of paying for a plan that saves money in the long run. Another trap is the status quo bias. This makes people stick with whatever option is already in place. Doing nothing feels safe, so the default wins. Psychologists proved this with pension programs. When workers had to actively sign up, most skipped it. But when workers were auto-enrolled, savings rates shot up, not because people thought harder, but because they let the default guide them. Defaults shape lives more than active choices. Even silence is a decision. That's the hidden twist. Doing nothing is still making a choice. We think we are free agents, but often we are passengers going wherever the default takes us. This bias explains why people delay dieting, ignore exercise, or postpone quitting a bad habit. The brain says, "Not now," and tomorrow never comes. But there's a deeper cost. When we fall for present bias or stick to defaults, we also start judging others unfairly. We assume their failures are personal when many are built into the choices they were given. So what happens when we judge people's actions while wearing these blinders ourselves? Your brain doesn't judge people piece by piece. It takes one trait and lets it color everything else. This is called the halo effect when the trait is positive. It's called the horns effect when the trait is negative. If someone is attractive, we assume they are also smarter, kinder, or more capable. If someone looks rough, we may see them as lazy or untrustworthy, without any real evidence. Psychologists have shown this in hiring studies. Attractive candidates were rated as more intelligent and more qualified, even with the same resume. In courtrooms, defendants who looked unpleasant or angry were blamed harder for crimes. This bias makes the surface rewrite the story underneath. But there's more. We don't just misjudge others, we misjudge how responsibility works. This is the fundamental attribution error. We excuse our own failures by blaming circumstances. I was late because of traffic. But when someone else is late, we say they're careless or lazy. The same event gets two very different explanations, depending on who we judge. The twist is clear. Your brain protects you, but condemns others. The halo blinds us to flaws. The horns exaggerate mistakes. And the blame illusion splits the same reality into double standards. But what if even confidence itself, how people speak, move, or present, turns out to be another trap for your mind? One of the biggest traps in the mind is overconfidence. People often think they know more than they really do. This shows up clearly in the Dunning-Kruger effect. In studies, novices who scored lowest on tests rated their own performance the highest. Meanwhile, real experts often doubted themselves even when they scored well. The irony is simple. The less you know, the more certain you feel. This creates a dangerous gap between confidence and competence. But overconfidence has a partner: survivorship bias. This happens when we only see the winners, not the failures. Think of startups. We hear about the few that became billion-dollar companies. We don't hear about the thousands that quietly collapsed. The result? People believe starting a company almost always leads to success. The failures are invisible, so the risks look smaller than they are. The same bias appears in war stories, sports, and even health advice. We copy the survivors, forgetting the silent majority that didn't make it. The loudest voices may actually know the least, and the stories we hear may be missing most of the truth. This is how illusions of knowledge and illusions of success feed each other. Together, they make us trust the wrong teachers and underestimate real risk. So the real question becomes, how do we fight back against these hidden traps in the brain? You can't erase biases from your brain. They are built into how the mind works. But you can outsmart them with the right tools. Psychologists have tested methods that reduce common errors. One tool is the checklist. In hospitals, doctors who use checklists cut serious mistakes by nearly half. Another tool is consider the opposite. When you challenge your own first answer, you expose blind spots. Teams also use pre-mortems, imagining failure before it happens. This helps them find weak points before real problems appear. Even militaries and companies create red teams, groups tasked with poking holes in the main plan. Structure beats gut feeling. Biases are strongest when we trust instinct alone. But when we add rules, questions, and systems, we force the brain to slow down. That is how we protect ourselves from mental shortcuts. The twist is sharp. Real control doesn't come from confidence, it comes from design. Biases may never leave, but they can be managed. And that leads to the bigger question. What truth does this reveal about every choice we make? Your brain is not a neutral guide. It is a biased machine, built to be fast, not always accurate. Every choice you made, what to buy, who to trust, even who to love, may have been tilted from the very start. Anchors locked in your numbers, stories bent your memory, frames shaped your emotions, losses chained you to the past, defaults pushed you toward easy comfort, halos blinded you, horns misled you, confidence tricked you, survivors fooled you. These are not rare mistakes, they are the rules of human thinking. And awareness alone is not enough. Knowing the names of these traps won't stop them from working. You need systems, checklists, opposite thinking, pre-mortems, red teams, because tools, not willpower, protect you from your own shortcuts. The truth is sharp. The freedom you want begins when you stop trusting your gut alone. The very biases that secretly controlled you lose power the moment you see and name them. So the final question is clear. Now that you've seen the strings, will you keep moving like a puppet or start cutting them? Biases will never disappear. They are part of how the brain works. But you don't have to be dragged by them. You can learn to dance with them, spotting the traps before they take over. Small tools make the difference. Checklists to slow down, opposite thinking to test yourself, and smart defaults that guide you toward better choices. Each step gives you back a piece of control. Subscribe for more mind-bending insights into how your brain really works. And tell us, Which bias has tricked you most, anchoring, sunk cost, or overconfidence?